Hello guys, welcome or welcome back. Grab yourself a drink because I have a lot of yapping to do. You guys know I'm bad at yapping at the best of times, but today is something special because I'm going to be going through every single book that I've read so far in 2025. So grab yourself a drink, get yourself some snacks. It's time to lock in. Let's start with the stats. The last few months have been some of my slowest reading months ever. So we've read 20 books so far this year, which for me in 4 months is not very many, but of course everybody's reading speeds and reading volumes is different. 11 have been contemporary romance, 7 have been fantasy, 1 has been dark academia, we've had 1 literary fiction, and we've had no crime, thriller, mystery. I kind of group all of those together, and we've had no historical fiction. It has been a very contemporary romance heavy start to the year for 2 reasons. 1, because I love me a rom-com. I can't help it. I'm a vibes kind of gal. I read books for the joy of it, not to be sad, not to be unhappy, for the joy. So I love me a rom-com, especially a nice contemporary sports romance. Oh, and actually I blame you for that because you all put me on to sports romances and now I'm hooked. And 2, sometimes the winters just hit a little bit extra harder than other years, and this winter has not been kind to me. So when the winter blues hit you hard, nothing quite feels as good as a fluffy, happy sports romance. So we've been reading quite a lot of that so far this year, but I do want to mix it up as we head into the rest of 2025. I also wanted to award the spot of my top author of the 20 books that I've read so far this year, and my top author from January to April is Leigh Bardugo, because I read 6 of Crows. We'll get to it in a bit, but Leigh Bardugo takes the cake as my top author so far this year. But honourable mentions also go to Lynn Painter, swoon, Kerry Lake, Shooketh, much to discuss, and Kristen Ciccarelli. So we'll talk about all of those authors, and every single one of those, Lee, Lynn, Kerry, Kristen, they were all new authors to me for the books that I read so far. Okay, let's get into the actual books, starting with January. A slow month. We read 4 books in the month of January, but we started the year with a serious bang. We only read 4 books, but the average rating across the 4 was 4.75 stars. Talk about a good month. So first up, I actually don't remember the exact order that I read these in, but for the sake of it, we're gonna say first up is Cersei by Madeline Miller. I'd already read Song of Achilles, so this is my 2nd book by this author. Wow, oh wow. If you haven't seen the reading vlog of me reading this, go and look at it. It's actually on my other channel. It's on my lifestyle channel. I'll pop a link to the video in the description box. There's a quote on the front of this from the Mail on Sunday that calls it truly spellbinding, and I just have to wholeheartedly agree with that quote. So Cersei follows the story of a goddess named Cersei. This is a Greek mythology retelling, and she is essentially shunned and banished from her family and ends up living on an island. And it's really just a story of woman's strength, of a goddess's strength through a very tough life, and her commitment to, or really her pursuit of joy in the face of hardship. She has some shadow in her, a lot of light in her as well. I think if you're a mother or have experienced motherhood in any way, I think there is a lot of really powerful messaging in here about how hard it is, but how fulfilling and beautiful it is. That was just lovely to read. There's a lot in here about the healing properties of nature and how connecting to the earth can really offer so much. There's a lot of really heart-wrenching stuff in here about loneliness. I think honestly this book covers so much, and it really feels like a love letter to women in so many ways. It's both a very sad and very heartwarming story. I gave this 5 stars. This is really special. Highly recommend. 5 star. We started 2025 very strong. Now, completely switching vibes, we then moved on to a bit of Elle Kennedy. Oh, I love Elle. She has given me so much joy over her many, many books. The Graham Effect is the first book in her Campus Diaries series. This is a 2nd generation series, so if you haven't read the Off Campus Diaries by Elle Kennedy, which is her first series with these characters, oh, you gotta read it. You gotta read it. I love the Off Campus Diaries so much. I loved every single one of those books. It was a 5-star series for me. They're all interconnected standalone, but definitely just read them in order. You'll want to get to know the characters as she intended across each of the books. This is the first book of the 2nd generation. So the very first book in the Off-Campus Diaries, Hannah and Garrett Graham, they are the parents of Gigi, who is the female main character of this book. This story is between Gigi and Ryder. I don't really know what trope it is. I guess it's like a deal kind of a trope of I help you, you help me. As part of that, then I guess you get a little bit of forced proximity. It's just really fun. I loved their romance. Gigi is an ice hockey player, as is Ryder, and I love how much emphasis we got on Gigi's athletic ability. So many of the sports romance books that I read are all about how he is a pro athlete and then she just happens to meet him, and usually it's about a female main character that works for him in some capacity. This was so much about how much of an epic athlete Gigi is, and I love that part of the story. Honestly, this doesn't need much chat. If you want a funny, fun sports romance, read this. I really enjoyed it. Of course, you get snippets of Hannah and Garrett, which is so much fun, and some of the other members of the Off-Campus Diaries series. I think some people get quite disappointed with this series because they're not in it loads, but you just have to come to terms with, like, the Off-Campus Diaries series is finished. This is a new series. You get snippets of them, which is amazing, but they're not obviously the main focus anymore. If you think you want to give this a go, which you should, but you haven't read the Off-Campus Diaries series yet, read that first, then get to this. 4.5 stars. I had such a good time. Then, whilst we're on a streak, I read the next one in the series, The Dixon Rule, and this got a 5 stars. This not only got 5 stars, it also got my favorite book of the month, even above Poor Cersei, which actually got 5 stars. Wait, I take this back. I'm saying this got 5 stars, it didn't. It got 4.75, scratch that, 4.75, but Cersei got 5 stars, but somehow in my mind, this, maybe I should just give this 5 stars, you know? But it's not a 5-star book, but the vibes were unmatched reading this. Enjoyment was through the roof. The noises that were coming from me were not cute. I was howling with laughter. I was giggling and kicking my feet. This book is such a good book to read in summer. This one does feel different to all of the others. I think this one also has like the lowest rating of all of them. It's incorrect. This is phenomenal. This is as good as The Score, which is Dean's book from the Off-Campus Diaries. If you know, you know, and I'm just saying it. This is as good as Dean's book. It is different because they're not at university, which so much of the vibes from the Off-Campus and now Campus Diaries is obviously set while they're at university, and like that's what you're expecting when they're at college. This is set in the summer between the 2 semesters, so it's more of like a summer romance where people from college and university, they've still, like a lot of the sports guys still have training during the summer. Honestly, I'm not going to go into that much, but Shane and Diana, vibes were high, and in this book is one of the spiciest scenes I've ever read, or one of the most shocking spicy scenes I've ever read in my life. I had to put the book down. I also vlogged reading this. Look, don't judge me. It was so much fun. Give it a go. And then my final book of January was actually a Kindle read, and it was Noctadia by Kerry Lake, who, as you heard, got honorable mention in my top authors list of the year so far. I've read 2 books by Kerry Lake. The first one was Noctadia. Oh, wow. It was my first dark academia. The vibes were so strong. Gothic, dark, spooky, sexy. There was quite a lot of spice in it. Very morally grey main character. His nickname is Dr. Death for a reason. He does some pretty horrible things, but for her, he's completely down bad. The dream, right? That's exactly what you want. He's mean to everyone else, but he's nice to me. It's the dream. It's not fantasy, but it almost kind of feels like fantasy because they're studying this parasite, which is a truly horrible parasite. I also would say it's quite gory. It's almost got like a horror gore vibe to this book as well. Honestly, I absolutely loved it. And this also got a 4.75 from me. So an unbelievably strong start to the year. The Graham Effect got 4.5, which was the lowest rating of any of the books for Jan. So moving on to February. It was only gonna go down from there, let's be honest, because it couldn't go up, so the only way was down. Again, not in order, but one of the books that I read in February was Dance of Thieves by Mary E. Pearson. A bit of a surprise to many, definitely a surprise to me, because I would have thought this had all the ingredients for a book that I would love. However, I DNF'd it. I can't remember exactly how far through I got. A decent chunk. I think I got a good halfway through. It's not a small book by any means. It is romantasy, enemies to lovers, can't remember anything else, can't actually remember their names. I basically got bored. That feels hard to say considering some of the other trash that I've read, but I got bored. It wasn't gripping. It felt very insta-lovey at the beginning, and then I couldn't really see past the fact that I felt like there wasn't much depth there, and maybe that would have built over time. Yeah, not loads to say. Currently it's DNF'd. I may pick it up again if I feel the call to. At the moment, I'm not that. There's so many good books at the moment, I'm not feeling the call to it. It just was a little bit soft, a little bit slow. The stakes didn't feel very high. I didn't feel like there was enough yearning. I didn't feel like there was any slow burn whatsoever, which I love me a slow burn. So this wasn't for me, but I don't necessarily think it's actually bad. It's It's unrated. I DNF'd it. That was February, so not a strong start. Next up is Icebreaker by Hannah Grace. I actually audiobooked this, and I don't know what to tell you. This one just kind of felt like a rite of passage. It feels like it's such an iconic book talk book that it felt bizarre that I hadn't read it. So I did, and it was okay. I don't really remember what happened. I remember feeling like it was a lot of spice with not much plot and not really anything especially interesting. I wasn't very gripped. There wasn't any out loud laughs or out loud like giggling and kicking my feet, which is what I need and want from a rom-com. I gave it 3 stars. I do think that this book had a lot of very good discussion around consent and respect for women's boundaries, and there was a really good snippet in there that was about acknowledging consent under the influence of alcohol, and even if you've just had a little bit and somebody is telling you that they want to, and he shut her down and said, you've been drinking, so even though you say that you want to, I don't feel comfortable taking advantage, or I don't feel comfortable because consent when you're drunk is not the same thing as consent. I can't remember exactly how it went, but I think this book gets like a lot of bashing, mostly by people outside of the book talk world that want to slam book talk for being whatever, and this book gets a lot of heat, and I don't think that's fair. I think Hannah Grace has written a lovely book. I don't think it's especially exciting, and for me wasn't very gripping. I think the thing that I need in my romance books is comedy. I need the banter. I need to be laughing out loud because I'm not here for the crazy plot, so I have to be here for vibes, and I want to be laughing my way through and then like swooning and squealing of romance, and there wasn't really any banter that I found particularly funny or engaging in Icebreaker. So it got 3 stars. It was nice. I don't think it deserves the bashing that it gets, but like nothing groundbreaking. If you want a fluffy, fun romance to pass the time, it was quite good on audiobook, then give it a go. In the same vein, whilst we're kind of rolling on from much to a muchness, I then read Deep End by Ali Hazelwood, also a contemporary romance. I love Ali Hazelwood's ability to write about all different types of things. The topics that she covers are so much fun. I loved Check and Mate by her, which is her YA romance about chess. This was her steamiest romance, or so she claimed, about swimmers. Now, the audiobook of this, so good. I think if I hadn't audiobooked it, it would have got a lower rating. I gave this book 3 stars, maybe even 3.25. The audiobook was really fun because his accent, he has a Swedish accent, and that is done really well. So definitely props to the voice actor. The accent was so good. But honestly, there were some problems with this book. One was the amount of effort that Ali Hazelwood went to at the beginning of the book in like the author's note or the disclaimer at the beginning to say how kinky this book was gonna be and how spicy this book was gonna be, and then it just like wasn't, and it was actually just like very vanilla, which is absolutely nothing wrong with that. I just think she really set herself up to fail by talking about how kinky this was gonna be, and at the beginning of the book they exchanged lists of like all the really like specific kinks that they're into, and there's like these huge lists of kinks that they trade so that they have a really good understanding of like what each other are into before they enter into this sexual relationship. And then like all of the spice in all of the book is just like kind of just like regular old normal smut. I don't know. So I think she really set herself up to fail there, because we all love the normal stuff. It's just she painted it like we kept waiting. I kept waiting for something outrageous to happen that never actually happened. And then 2, my even bigger complaint, or the biggest complaint, is that the main character, the female main character, really felt like a side character. Her best friend was absolutely awful throughout this entire book, and her best friend kind of felt like the main character, and it was torturous having to listen or having to read about, listen to this best friend be so unbelievably selfish and self-involved and demand all the attention from the male main character. I really struggled to read that because I love a strong, badass female main character, and I just feel like I really feel like Ali did the female main character a disservice. I think she could have been that. I think she was that in lots of ways. But this random friend just got so much airtime. And I thought that maybe it's because she was setting her up for her own book or something, but that doesn't seem to be the case. So I really don't know what that was all about. Not a fan of that. That was Deep End. And then the only redeeming book of February, which definitely pulled its weight, Magnolia Parks by Jessa Hastings. I finally entered the Magnolia Parks universe, and oh my gosh, what a book. I still don't really know how to rate this. I think it is like 4.25 or 4.5 or something, but oh my gosh, I'm so excited to read the rest of the series. I feel so strongly this series as a whole is going to be a 5-star series for me. The reason why it doesn't get higher than maybe a 4.25 or a 4.5 is because it took me a minute to disassociate Magnolia and BJ from Chuck and Blair from Gossip Girl, and it took me a minute I had already done some mental prep on how toxic it was going to be, but when I started it, again, I really had to go, remember how much you love Gossip Girl. It's the same thing. It's very immature behaviors. It's highly toxic. It makes you just want to like shake them and be like, what are you doing? But that's actually, in a weird way, I needed to get myself into that I want to shake you because what are you doing mentality, and out of, this is actually too painful, just stop it. I don't want to read this, just stop it. Now that I'm in the flow, now that I've got the vibe, I think I'm going to enjoy the rest of the series so much because Chuck and Blair were like my gold standard, all-consuming, earth-shattering obsession when I was at school. So I know that this speaks to something in me, but it's like a much younger Ellen that I kind of have to like resurrect in order to be able to enjoy these books. So I think if you're in the mindset of like only wanting to read mature love, or you find mature conversations that handle conflict in relationships like really satisfying, this is like not the book for you. You have to go into this like knowing they're childish, they're immature, it's toxic, and somehow it's like fantastic. To be honest, the thing that makes it fantastic is not the plot, it's not the characters, it's Jess's writing. It's so all-consuming, her writing. It's these long strings of prose that like each sentence feels like it runs on to the next, and it's done so well. It really, really feels like the inner monologues and the inner thoughts of any of the characters that she's talking about. You literally feel like you are in their heads. It's so good, so good. So that's it for February. Right, we're all gonna take a beat just now. We're just gonna take a deep breath. I'm gonna get myself a drink, take a sip of yours, because if you thought January was good, let me introduce you to March. Our average rating for March was 5 stars. I'm not joking, 5 stars. And let me check the stats. We read 6 books and the average rating was 5 stars. Okay. So not every single book was 5 stars, but nearly. But one book was so good, it brought up the average of those that weren't. So I don't even know where to start. Where do we start with March? There was so much good stuff in it. Let's start at the light and fluffy end of the spectrum. As referenced on the honorable mention list, Lynn Painter was a wonderful person for me to meet this year. This book was wonderful. It was wonderful and marvelous, and that makes me think of Funny Face. It was just, it feels like this book was so much of my personality wrapped into one book. It's a YA romance, childhood friends to lovers. Wes and Liz are next door neighbors. They're kind of actually childhood enemies to lovers, but like kind of frenemies to lovers, which is so much fun. They've grown up always competing over a parking spot, and they like have this irrational hatred of each other over the fact that they both want this parking spot that's outside each of their houses. But it's kind of playful, you can tell, like it's hatred, but it's not hatred, like deep-seated hatred, but there's this annoyance, childhood friends kind of vibe going on. Liz is an absolutely hopeless romantic, or more specifically, she loves rom-coms, and every single chapter in this book begins with a quote from an old 90s, early 2000s rom-com. And I am a rom-com girly. I've said it so many times already in this video, but I love me a rom-com. And to have every single chapter start with a quote from Bridget Jones, or from 10 Things I Hate About You, or Pretty Woman, or When Harry Met Sally, or 500 Days of Summer, or just all of these movies that I really feel like shaped my growing up and that just bring me the most amount of like comfort and peace and joy when I watch them. And to have all of that movie magic sprinkled in a book and it not feel cliche and it not feel cheesy, it just felt just perfectly done. Like perfectly done. I think everybody should read this book, whether you're a romance person or not. I think it is the sweetest, loveliest. There's no spice, so if you don't like spice, this is perfect for you. Best than the movies. Joy and sunshine and sparkly deliciousness, and the tension is amazing. The yearning is so good. It's lighthearted and sweet and naive, and okay, I'm gonna stop now. It's lovely. Okay. Oh, did I say I didn't need to? Did I? I probably didn't need to. You understood. You understood that that's 5 stars. That's 5 stars. 5 stars. Okay, next let's talk about Out of the Woods by Hannah Bonham Young. I'm gonna use a lot of the same words, so I'm gonna keep this review very short and sweet. All of that same stuff that I described This is the more mature version of Better Than the Movies in lots of ways. Okay, I understand the plot is completely different. This is about a married couple. They've been together for most of their lives. They're in their 30s. They got together when they were teenagers, and they go on a wilderness marriage retreat to try and heal the problems they're having in their marriage. This follows the best friends of Bo and Win from the first book in the interconnected standalone series. And the first book is called Out on a Limb. This is Out of the Woods. I don't know if there's any logic to it. Of course there is somewhere. I wish I could describe it better, but there is something about Hannah Bonham Young's writing that I'm not sure it would matter what she wrote. I would just give it 5 stars. It feels like the warmest and coziest of hugs. And she writes about such the complete polar opposite to Magnolia Parks. She writes about such mature, well-intentioned, love-filled, respectful and honest relationships, and it is the biggest breath of fresh air because it feels like reading this book is like a form of life coaching and therapy all in one, because you read these and you go, these feel like such real relationships that encounter such understandably real problems, and this is how I want to behave when arguments happen, when trouble comes your way, when you've been together for 15 years and the road gets hard and you don't know how to navigate it. Like, this is how I want to navigate it. I want to still try, and I want to approach my relationship with understanding and love and silliness, and I want to find my way back to each other. Hopefully you never have the problem in the first place, but I think it's naive to assume that relationships are never filled with any troubles and any strife, and they just... Sarah and Caleb, it's beautiful, it's lovely, it's the same aspirational, I suppose is the right word, it's the same aspirational vibe as Bo and Win from the first book. I love it. Oh, and obviously 5 stars. Okay, then Wildside. So I'm assuming most of you guys know now that Elsie Silver is queen. She runs the show. She's why we're all here. She's why I'm here. She's why we all exist. Elsie Silver is, she's kind of a no-notes kind of woman. But in case you don't know, Elsie Silver is the queen, the ruler above all of cowboy romance, and more specifically small town romance. So the first series she wrote, Chestnut Springs, I'm sure you've heard of it, I'm sure you've read it. Chestnut Springs is her cowboy romance series, absolutely fantastic. Gold Rush Ranch is her kind of horsey horse trainer series, which is actually the first series that she ever wrote. And now we're on to the Rose Hill series, which is small town, and specifically small town single dads. So every single book in the series follows a different small town single dad in this particular town, Rose Hill. And this one, Wildside, is my favorite of the series so far. Oh my gosh. Rhys, the man that you are. Rhys and Tabby's relationship is so good. It is spicy, it's sexy, it's heartwarming, it's really fun. The dad's bowling league is starting to really come into its own, which I think has a lot of the banter that we get in Chestnut Springs that maybe we've been missing so far in the first couple of these books. I really enjoyed Wild Love. Wild Eyes wasn't my favorite, got a little bit bored in that one. Wildside though, this was fantastic. It's marriage of convenience, therefore a bit of forced proximity in there as well. And then also kind of enemies to lovers, because obviously I won't give any plot spoilers, but there's some conflict, which is why they're even brought together to meet in the first place, and they're on opposite sides of this problem. Yeah, this was 4.75 for me. Another excellent Elsie Silver book. Fave so far of this series, without a doubt. And I can't wait for the next one. Right, now we're getting serious. Now we're on to the fantasies that we read in March. Up first, The Crimson Moth, or if you're on the other side of the pond, Heartless Hunter. This was chef's kiss. This book got 4.5 stars from me. We are talking high stakes fantasy, enemies to lovers, and very real enemies to lovers. They hate each other on so many levels. And this isn't the type of enemies to lovers where it's if you just got to know each other better, you wouldn't hate each other. No, no, no. The more they get to know each other, the more you understand how deep-rooted in their core values as who they are. They are completely incompatible because one of them fundamentally hates the existence of the other and literally wants to kill them. It's trying very hard to kill them. Because, to summarize, this book is about a witch and a witch hunter. I don't need to say anymore. It's a witch and a witch hunter. The pacing is fantastic, the writing is fantastic, the romance is fantastic, the plot twist at the end is fantastic, and all of that meant that I had to go straight on to reading the next one, Rebel Witch, which got 5 stars from me. Rebel Witch is so brilliant. It is so fast paced. There was not 1 second of that book that felt slow, that felt like, okay, I'm ready for the next peak of the plot to pick up. We were racing through that book, page by page, and Gideon Sharp, he's in the top tier. He's in the top tier. Maybe I need to do like an all-time ranking of fantasy book boyfriends, but boy oh boy, does Gideon Sharp take a top 5 spot. He was elite level book boyfriend from a fantasy series. It's so lovely that The Rebel Witch and Crimson Moth are a duology. Who doesn't love a duology? Done and dusted in 2 books, and you feel like you go on this epic fantasy adventure all in the space of 2 books. If you're looking for a fantasy series to get really consumed in, that you don't want to take like 7 books to read, that's your next one. That's the next one to pick up. Or really, should I say, that's the next one to pick up after you finish this one. Okay, another deep breath. In the month of March 2025, so that this is stamped in history forever, I read Six of Crows by Leigh Bardugo. No, I haven't read any of the Shadow and Bone series. This is where I started, and I feel very happy with my decision. I had the most epic time. I did vlog it. Again, go watch the video. It's on my lifestyle channel. It is actually full of spoilers, so don't go watch it unless you've already read this book. But if you've read this book, go watch it. We have an actual blast. It's a spoiler vlog of me reading this, and it's just, we just vibe. We just vibe for the whole vlog, because this book is a vibe for the whole book. This is another book that absolutely everybody should read this. I will recommend this to all of my male friends. I will recommend this to my parents. I will recommend this book to anyone. It is a heist, a high stakes fantasy heist, and is described as a mix of Game of Thrones and Ocean's 11, and I say it's a mix of Ocean's 11 and Peaky Blinders Fantasy Edition. That is what I think it is, and it's so good. Every single member of the heist crew, of the team, of the crows is so much fun to read about. You've got different POVs throughout the entire book. Every single one of them is fun. Some of the characters drive you a bit bonkers, but in the best way. The plot is fantastic, the pacing is fantastic, and the yearning that you get for the little sprinkling bits of romance you get throughout this book. Oh my gosh, we only get crumbs. We are fed morsels of nothingness that leave us literally like starving for more. And no, by the end, you're still absolutely starving. I am yet to be fed. I have not read Crooked Kingdom yet, so I'm just out here, a starving woman, suffering until she gets to that book. I can see it on the shelf. I haven't read it yet. This is so good. If you haven't read it, please read it. 6 stars. Yes, that's why it drags up the whole month, because even though we've had a 4.5, even though we've had a 4.75, this bad boy drags it all the way up to 5 because it was 6. I had a whale of a time. If you haven't read it, read it now, and then let's read Crooked Kingdom together, okay? That's the plan. And that is a wrap on March. Okay, we're officially on to April. If you are still with me, props to you. If you're not subscribed, please subscribe, and pop a little stack of books, the little stack of books emoji in the comments so I know that you're still here, because I already know that I've been yapping for so long and we're not even done. So if you're at this point, thank you so much for still being with me. We've just got April to go, and it's a mixed bag. We knew that we couldn't, again, every time we have a really strong month, we kind of plummet the next month. And again, for April, we've come up from 5 stars in March down to an average of 3.5 for April. I've read 6 books so far this month, and the month is not over. I reckon we can get a good 8 or 9 done in this month. So we're gonna be back up to my pre-2025 slumping levels, which makes me very excited because my TBR shelf is very long. It's very full. There's a lot to get through that I'm very excited about over the next few months. So my first book of the month for April is a Hear Me Out book. You know those Hear Me Out cakes? This is a Hear Me Out book. I've seen so much hate about Not in Love by Ali Hazelwood. So much hate. And I really liked it. I really enjoyed it. I don't know if that says something about me. Maybe because I just think all of reading is an expectations thing, right? Oh, so therefore I take it back. Six of Crows is really bad. You won't enjoy it. Just see how it goes. Because I think when people set expectations too high, you kind of have no hope. And I think the expectations were set so low for this book that I really enjoyed it. It's about Rue and Eli. I have to say, I also audiobooked this. The audiobook of this is really good. It's done duet, if I remember correctly, and I really, really enjoyed the audiobook. Again, maybe I wouldn't have enjoyed it as much if I didn't audiobook it, but a really, really, really strong audiobook. I'm starting to learn that Ali Hazelwood picks very strong voice actors and actors for her audiobooks. Rue and Eli, they are work adversaries, I'd say, kind of enemies, work adversaries. Eli owns a company that is trying to buy out Rue's company or is trying to take over Rue's company, and that puts her work at risk. It's another STEM book from Ali. She advertised it as her spiciest book yet. This came out before Deep End, and then I think Deep End was meant to be the spiciest book after that. I think that's the order they came out in. But they are attracted to each other. It is a very spice heavy book. There's not much necessarily like plot and I mean there is the plot, there's the plot of what's going to happen with this like company takeover, company merger thing. I don't know what to tell you. Like I understand that there's not necessarily that much going for it in this book, but somehow I really vibed. The audiobook was good. The spice, if you're in the mood for like a spicy book that you just want to like actually hit, I really recommend this. It was good, but I feel like I'm saying something wrong because so many people didn't like it. I gave this 4 stars. Yeah, a whole 4. I don't know if I can fully remember all of the details of the book at this point now, but I vibed hard enough to give this 4 stars, and I really meant it at the time. Recommend the audiobook. Spicy, fun, broody male main character that was really a vibe. She was also kind of a boss, and she was not like a fluffy girly kind of character. She was kind of like a no-nonsense, holds people at arm's length, but he just gets that and like really respects who she is and doesn't ask her to change or doesn't expect her to like soften just because he's around. It was just, I don't know, I really liked it. Not loads to say, not in love, 4 stars, give it a go. Then I'm gonna skip through the next couple very quickly. I read 2 Stephanie Archer books, 1 Behind the Net and then 2 The Fake Out. Behind the Net I gave 2.75 stars. I honestly cannot tell you what happened in that book, and I read it about 2 weeks ago. I've already almost completely forgotten it. I didn't think it was very good. The writing was a bit of a struggle for me. It wasn't necessarily funny. I found the female main character, if I remember, if this is the book that I remember correctly, Behind the Net, she is extremely pathetic. Yes, it is. She is quite pathetic. Basically, it's a story about 2 people that they went to high school together. They've always liked each other. They've grown up. He's a famous athlete. She ends up working for him as kind of like his dog walker, basically. And they both like each other the whole time. They just don't actually say anything, which just feels like too silly of a plot to me. I mean, if you've always liked each other literally forever, like just kind of get on with it. Maybe I'm being too harsh. 2.75, fun, fluffy, definitely chill. If you want like a comfort book where like you know it's a happy ending, you don't need to stress about anything. It's not going to make you, like sometimes you in a weird way you want a book that doesn't make you feel too deeply, because if you're, like, I just know you have this kind of like mental health books that just kind of help tide you over and just distract you a little bit but aren't too all consuming. Then like maybe give it a go. It wouldn't be top of the list. I think there's a lot of others out there that maybe you could go to first. But basically I read that so that I could then read The Fake Out, which I did see some very good reviews for, which is the 2nd book in the Interconnected standalone series. I don't think you actually need to read the first one first. I think you could just go straight to The Fake Out, which probably would be what I'd recommend. The Fake Out I gave 3.5 stars. I felt much more connected to the characters. I felt much more invested in their love story. It was good. Again, I don't feel like I need to go into the details of the plot. It's spicy, it's sports romance. It's fun. This one was funnier and I was much more, like I said, I was much more connected to it. I would recommend The Fake Out. I'd probably skip Behind the Net. Then another Kerry Lake, because she is doing so well. And I also audiobooked this, a very strong audiobook, couple of months really. Anathema. Guys, if you want a fantasy to read and you feel like you've read a lot of the ones I've mentioned so far, or you've read all the ones on your list, add Anathema to it. It was really good. I think there is a lot missing from it still. I don't know how many are intended to be in this series. The 2nd book is coming out in September, I believe. I also believe it's Kerry Lake's first fantasy. It is high fantasy. There is, I would say it is quite complex. I've read quite a lot of fantasy now, and I do think that Anathema is quite complex. A lot of it I was like, wait, what is going on? And if you have the physical copy of the book, which I don't, and I need to go get it because I think it would have helped me, there is a lot at the beginning of lots of names, of lots of descriptions of like different powers that people have. And in a weird way, I think I wish I'd spent a little bit more time kind of like studying for the book. I know that doesn't sound fun, to like prep yourself for reading, like, and I know that when I see a fantasy that has loads of complex stuff at the beginning, you just think, well, skip that one, I'll read something that's a little bit easier to get my head around. But really, I do recommend this. This is another romantasy. The slow burn is so slow. Like, almost it is romantasy, but almost it's not, because there is so much plot happening. The romantasy is definitely a subplot for most of this book, and then towards the end, it starts to dominate the plot a little bit more. But really, it's so good. I don't even know how to describe the magic systems in it, because I don't fully understand it myself yet. I definitely want to read the next one. I gave it 4.25, I think. I've said 4.5, I think 4.25/4.5 I can't stop thinking about it, but it did take me a minute to work out like what is going on. It did take me a second to get into it, and Noctadia kind of swallowed me whole, whereas this book was more of a slow burn for me and the vibes, but I definitely want to read the next book, so I would recommend it. Then I read The Nectar of the Wicked, which is part of my first vlog in this channel, literally the only other vlog on this channel, last week's vlog. So you might already know my thoughts. Mostly sex. This book is this much of them just doing it. So take with that what you will. However, in last week's vlog, I think I insulted this book plenty. And since I have finished the second book, The Wrath of the Damned, and it was so good. No, it was so good. I know that sounds outrageous. I think I give this book 3 stars, and I honestly give the second book 4 stars. And I don't know if I've ever rated 2 books in a series or in a duology so differently that they're an entire star different, because honestly The Nectar of the Wicked, I could have even like slightly knocked it into the 2s. I think that would have been harsh. But the second book, like I could even knock it up higher into it was so good. I do still not really like the male main character. He's definitely not one of my favorites. He's just so bossy, and like Cameron is bossy. I like me a bossy man, I really do. But he was kind of just like rude bossy, you know what I mean? There's like sexy in a commanding way, and then there's just like, oh, just shut up, don't talk to me like that, you know? He wasn't my favorite, and there was still probably an unnecessary amount of sex in the book. And more importantly, the smut was not like vibey to me. It was just a bit, it was just boring. I was like, you know, when there's just so much, you're like, there's no anticipation, there's no like, oh my god, is this about to happen? It was just like, oh, well, there we go, they're doing it again. And I mean, Cameron walked in while I was like listening to the book at one point. He was like, are those two having sex again? I said, yes. And he was like, I was only in here 5 minutes ago. I was like, I know, they're doing it again. They just don't stop. So it just takes like all the fun out of that element of it. And if it's such a dominant part of the plot, you're kind of like numbing your readers to a really important part of the story. So I do think the book is flawed. Maybe over time I'll bump it down from a 4, but I actually would recommend the duology after really slagging it off a lot last week. I had a good time and enjoyed the audiobooks. Maybe I'd just stick to reading the physical copy though, like the audiobooks weren't great because it wasn't done duet, and I just prefer that usually in an audiobook. But I had a good time. That's it. Those are all the books I've read so far. That is all 20 books I've read so far in 2025. So please can you let me know. I cannot tell you how excited I am for this channel. As I said, if you're new, welcome, please do stick around. If you're an old timer, then we're already besties and you know the deal. So help me, tell me, what do you want to see on this channel? This is for you. I literally just want you every single week to come back and be like, yes, 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 and have the best time at this little corner of the internet. What do you want to see? I wasn't planning on doing reading wrap-ups like this every single month because I thought that maybe they might get a little bit repetitive, but I can do if you want me to. Do you want TBR videos where you pick the TBR every single month with a jar or another fun method? Or again, does it get a bit repetitive to do it every single month? We're going to be doing reading vlogs. I can do reading challenges. Like basically, do you want a mix of everything? Do you have a strong preference of particular videos of mine or particular videos that you've seen other people do that you think that you would love to see more of from me? I've had a few really fun requests for some read with me videos. Let me know if you'd like that, where we're just gonna put on some relaxing music and almost like we're doing a live, and I might just sprinkle those in as extra videos each week where we'll set a timer for like read with me for 30 minutes, read with me 45 minutes, and I will just live, no editing, like no clipping out me reading, like we can just read together. So you can put me on in the background, put me on your TV, and we'll just have some chill music while we read together. I'm really excited to do that. Thank you very much to those of you that sent me in that request. But yeah, any videos you want to see from me, let me know. Apart from that, that is it for this video. Thank you so much for sticking around. I honestly think I've yapped for about an hour. I'm going to see how much I'm going to be able to cut this down because you can't sit through an hour of this because you'll go insane. Let me see how much I can cut it back for you. Thank you so much for being here. I hope you're having such a lovely week and I can't wait to see you in the next one. Bye guys.